All right, we're holding chapter 27. Trucking on. 27. No? Are we
I
not?
thought it was the 25. Oh, the chapter 27, yes.
Yeah, chapter 27.
Chapter 27, 25 Shvat.
Yeah, 25th Shabbat. But there are three stars. What page do you have, right, Ira?
370.
370 in the new print, 361 in the old print. So last time, we learned a very fundamental teaching of Tanya, which we said last time, which gives people hope and inspiration for a better day. Why? Because we learned that your mission in life of most people we're speaking to is not to become a tzaddik, not to become a perfect individual, but to become a warrior. You have worker ants and other ants. I don't know. It says most people, their job is to be a worker ant, to fight, go to work every single day, and we discussed the person's going to get frustrated, or the person might say, "Hey, why do I keep having these things?" The Alter Rebbe says, "Why not? Why shouldn't you?" And if you think you're entitled to not have interruptive thoughts, then you probably have to give yourself a good look in the mirror, because you're way overestimating yourself. A person might say, but the God would only appreciate perfection. And last time we quoted what Yitzchak says, that Yitzchak asks Esav to make for him two foods, and we said there are two types of foods. There's a sweet food and spicy food. And both are delicacies. Yaakov is the sweet son, perfect. Esav is the rebellious son, but Yitzchak wants to turn him into a good son. So somebody who struggles with rebellious impulses, but yet makes the choice to do the right thing, there's certain pleasure, like spicy food. Let's continue. So last time, just to give a preview for this class, last time we were speaking about sinning. But now we're not going to talk about sinning. Now we're going to talk about a little bit of a higher level, more refined level. And a lot of people have a problem with this. Because most people, their attitude is, as long as I'm not committing a crime, leave me alone. As long as it says OU on the label, I can put it on my table. Right? And if someone comes to you, hey, why are you stuffing your face? What are you talking about? It's Pas Yisrael cake, it's Chalav Yisrael cream cheese. It's the highest level of kosher. I'm not doing anything wrong, leave me alone. Paul was going to say, the problem with the Yetzer Hara is, Yetzer Hara, it works on impulse. So if the Yetzer Hara is going to get you to give into impulse, and every time you give into impulse, and it's OU, and it's okay, and everything is good, what happens when the Yetzer Hara tells you to do something you're not supposed to do? How will you be able to control that muscle? That impulse muscle. So what you got to do is learn to control yourself, even when it's okay. And I'll tell you a story that I heard from a older Chassid Rabbi Garari, when his great nephew was getting married. He asked him, "Are you a Chassid, or are you just a Torah observant Jew?" So what do you mean? Of course I'm a Torah observant. He said, "No, are you a Chassid?" Yeah, I'm about a Chassid. But do you act like a Chassid? So he said, what do you mean by this? So he said to him, I'll explain to you. A Torah observant Jew is careful in the 2 weeks that he can't. And a Chassid is careful in 2 weeks that he could. Let me explain. According to halacha, when a woman has her period, right, it's hands off. And there's a bunch of different halachas of what they, there's a bunch of different halachas of what a man and a woman are allowed to do, right? They're not allowed to touch and everything else. And you have to be careful. But most people have the attitude, once the 2 weeks is off and she goes to the mikveh, I can do whatever I want. Yeah, she's my wife.
My wife.
Thank you. But what Rabbi Garari was telling his nephew is, even when it's permissible, there's still a way to go about things. Not every time it's kosher, you have to give in to that indulgence. Let's get into it. 361. And not only about the forbidden things, Ella 361. Ella filu b'dvarim amotarim lagamri. Even things that are 100% kosher and permissible. Kol ma, anytime. She'adam zeveach yitzrei. A person sacrifices his impulse. Afilu l'shal kala, even for a short time. It's called impulse control. You know, the whole American economy works on impulse. You're trying to get people to buy this. How many things you look in your house? Can you say, if I would have waited a day, maybe I wouldn't have bought it. So just sacrifice that impulse. And the purpose is to subdue Sitra Achra. Meaning, I'm not going to let the impulse control me. It could be you need it. It could be, let's say eating. I'm hungry. But you say, you know something? I'm hungry, but instead of eating at 10:30, I'm going to eat at 10:45. Why? Because I'm not going to allow that every time my stomach says I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. It's a question of who controls who. There's a story, I've told the story a million times, but it's a very important story. The previous Rebbe, we just celebrated yesterday, 9th of Adar. He came to the United States, safely arrived at the shores of the United States, 9th of Adar, 1940. It started the whole Chabad in the United States, but the whole Chabad in the whole world. So every day, his Chachka Fagan would bring him, his attendant would bring him a cup of tea. And every day, after a certain time, he would come and pick up an empty glass. One time he came in, and the Rebbe is standing at a window, and whatever he's thinking about, he's the Rebbe. And he puts the cup of tea down, he leaves, he comes back to pick up the empty cup, and the cup of tea is still there. So he figures, obviously something's wrong with the tea. He goes out, makes another cup of tea, comes back a little while later, cup of tea is still there. So he wants to do his job right. So although the Rebbe is lost in thought, and he feels bad, he says, excuse me, Rebbe, I'm sorry to disturb you. Is there anything wrong with the tea? So the Rebbe says, no. So why isn't the Rebbe drinking the tea? He says, I'm practicing iskafia. I'm practicing self-control. So he says, but you're the Rebbe. Like you're a tzaddik. Like, I don't get it. He says, even a tzaddik has to, even a tzaddik, even a Rebbe says has to practice self-control. There's an idea, it is a very, very powerful idea, which is not a cosmopolitan idea. Because these days you feel like you do it, and if you need it, for sure you can do it. But the Alter Rebbe is teaching you a very strong life lesson. It's like a goy shechafetz lechel. You want to eat. And you delay the meal for an hour or less. And what do? You say, okay, instead of eating, I'll sit in the couch and I'll watch more college football. No. Instead of being indulgent in self-serving, and you learn Torah and at that time, because what you're doing is you instead of giving in to the needs of the body, you're channeling that and you're learning Torah. Now, it doesn't mean you never eat. No, you eat. It doesn't mean that you don't eat good food. You can eat good food, but why are you eating? Because your body says I have to eat. You're eating because you eat to live, or you live to eat? That's the question. Kedis the Gemara, like the Gemara says, the Shor Revi is machal kol adam. A regular person would eat in the 4th hour. Shor Shishis, we're talking about from sunrise. Shor Shishis machal tamid chachamim, and the scholars would eat in the 6th hour, meaning they would daven, and then they would learn. And they would go hungry for two extra hours. Although even though they would study the whole day, you're thinking if they're going to study the whole day anyway, who cares when they eat? But the point is, they wake up in the morning and you're hungry. But I'm not going to eat because I'm hungry. I'm going to eat when I want to eat. You know, I guess the greatest example is after Yom Kippur. Put out the food, right? And people descend upon it and they're hungry. But you've been there. People kind of lose their humanity a little bit around tables of food. What happens? They're so into their body they can't control themselves. We have to be able to tell our body no.
I was learning about that today from a different angle completely.
Yeah.
But how important Birkat Hamazon is, how like when you sit down to eat, it's equivalent to going to war. Yeah. And it's like sitting there, it's like the
what's the way before you go to like before you continue, it's the absolute war.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
There's one thing
I
of.
just learned this today.
I'm saying
Sorry. Sorry, you might have already
I'm saying
gone through this.
there's one thing of should I eat, should I not eat. But when you're actually eating, you're like, okay, now I'm eating, all bets are off. I'm gonna pound this hamburger,
Are you
right?
devouring it
Right?
like an animal,
so
or are you going to eat it like a...
So it's really a war because your body says, "Give it to me, give it to me now." Right? It really is a war. That's why it's so important to make a bracha before you eat.
Exactly.
Because when you make a bracha before you eat, you have this urge to stuff your face. Stop. It's just a concept of.
So the thing that I was learning from Zohar about it is like the whole concept is really complete after someone says amen.
Yeah.
You don't just say the blessing. Someone says amen, and then that amen is the...
Full circle, yeah.
What happens if nobody's around to say amen?
Still.
You can get ChatGPT. Okay, Google, say amen.
I hear you.
It's fine.
Yeah, here, there you go. All right.
Okay, Google.
Okay, Asaf.
Say amen.
Okay, Asaf, be quiet. Sorry, we said that. 363. So similarly, in Boiler Piv Miladaber, not only with food, if somebody holds back from saying Dvarim Shibalibai, like if someone has a nice piece of gossip, nice geschmack, a piece of Lashon Hara, and you want to share it, and you want to be the it guy, right? Oh, guys, you never knew, right? You want to be the guy who's going to be the one to, everyone gathers around you to hear the news. The Dvarim Min Ha'olam, to something mundane matters. You realize, by the way, the Alter Rebbe is working from easier to harder. First, stop yourself from eating. That's hard, but not impossible. Then stop yourself from saying something. That's even harder. And then stop yourself from thinking something you shouldn't. Even by the slightest subjugation of the Sitra Achra, when we subdue, when we make the Sitra Achra secondary, we allow we allow the primacy of God, His holiness, to be elevated a lot higher. Sorry. Now what happens? Now what happens when we do this? What happens now is there's a line in the Gemara which says Hashem tells a person, "You open for me a hole the size of a needle, and I'll make the hole the size of a building." But Hashem wants from us, Hashem understands, He created us with the Yetzer Hara, and He understands the struggle. What he wants from us is that initial input, that initial good choice. Then Hashem says, I'm gonna schlep you up. Mekdusha zu, and from this holiness, nimsheches kedusha al yena, a sublime holiness is drawn ala adam lamata, on the person below, l'sayoy, to help him siyur rav, an unbelievable, powerful atzim love. What does it say? An unbelievable assist to serve Hashem. So now, when you make that choice, then I am not going to let my body rule me, my animal soul rule me. I'm going to defer. In Hebrew, the verb is to be mavater. And mavater means?
Levater.
A mavater means to let it go. Mavater means you're entitled, you're right, you're 100% right, but you're mavater. You let it go. It's a very, very good quality. I don't have it, but yeah. So say same thing is. So now you're gonna notice when a person makes that choice that your davening becomes a whole different davening. And this is what the famous Gemara in Numa says: a person sanctifies himself a little bit below. Hashem sanctifies him greatly from above. Levad says, and that's number one. And then you're also, at the same time, you're also fulfilling a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah in the Torah which is very vague. It says, "Be holy." Be holy and make yourself. What does that mean? Be holy. It can't mean, oh, by the way, do the mitzvahs. Obviously. Oh, by the way, put on tefillin. What is it? What's it referring to? Huh? But Alter Rebbe is explaining over here is this is one. You sanctify yourself with you're allowed to do. The Alter Rebbe was want to say. It says determined. What you're not allowed to do, you can't do. But it was Megman ton, and what you're allowed to do, dafminit. You don't need to do. And this leads into the story. If you remember, we said all the way in the beginning, when the Russians came to arrest the Alter Rebbe, and he ran out the back of his house with Shmuel Munkus, and he said, what should I allow myself to be arrested? Shmuel Munkus said, if you're a tzaddik, if you're for real and you're authentic, don't worry about it. Hashem's going to protect you. Nothing to worry about. And if you're not a tzaddik and you're full of garbage, then what right do you have to write what you did over here? You took excitement out of everything. Because now, Alter Rebbe is basically demanding that before we do anything, we have to judge. Is it productive or not? You can't enjoy strawberry shortcake. Right? What is strawberry shortcake? Right?
Yeah,
What is how do they get you to buy strawberry shortcake? For its nutrition value? No. Why? Because it's good. Right? It tastes good. Is it productive? Right? You go to the doctor. What did you eat today? I had my complete.
Are you in a strawberry shortcake eating competition?
Right. Bill Cosby had this joke about chocolate cake. It has all the basic food groups, right? Milk, eggs, flour. So right, but so what Alter Rebbe did was he said, what he's saying over here, the Kaddish Atzmi Mutarlai. We have to sanctify ourselves with what is permissible. We have to ask ourselves. Just because it's kosher, it doesn't mean you have to do it. It's a big struggle, and this is what Peter Shvis Kadishta. This is what it means when it says, sanctify yourself. Should make yourselves holy. What does it mean when holy? Holy means not regular. Regular people act a certain way. Holy people should act better. Right? If you saw a rabbi acting a certain way, me excluded, because he said, if you saw a rabbi he thought it was a big rabbi, he's going on a surfboard and a bike, and says, I thought he was a real rabbi, right? Meaning,
what? If I see a rabbi surfing, I have to.
I don't know. I was giving an example. I was trying to think of some unrabbinic.
You're so jealous of that surfer rabbi that in your mind, you wish you could also surf.
I'll tell you a story. My brother. Yeah, right. My brother married a Californian. It's going back 30-something years ago. Anyway, so when he got engaged, his father-in-law took me surfing. His father-in-law was like a surfer dude, but he's about true, a stoner kind of thing. I went, and every single time I fell off the board, somehow the board ended up hitting me in the head. It was the most miserable
You got out of the beach, like, this is for bad rabbis.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Only the bad rabbis can.
But I wasn't a rabbi back then. Anyway.
I was busy learning. All the others surfing.
So the idea is, I'll tell you a personal story. So I remember when I was 16 and obnoxious. I'm still obnoxious, but I was extra obnoxious. I went to my father, and I knew just to tee him off. I knew what the answer was going to be, just to, poke the bear. I went to my father, said, "Could I go to Times Square for New Year's Eve?" I knew my father was going to say no. I'm a yeshiva boy. My father says, "Of course not." So why not? Does it say anywhere in the Torah you can't go to Times Square? No. And my father wasn't worried that I was going to do something, forbidden. I'm going to want to go see. No. I kept prodding and pushing. Finally he says, because it's a pasnisht. It's unbecoming, unbefitting. You don't belong there. Is it forbidden? No, but you don't belong there. That's what it means, vis kadishtan. Make yourself, you're different. Act it. That's what it means. The way there's I know you're a scholar of Tanakh. The whole story of Gideon. How did he get his 300 soldiers?
The water,
right?
How do you drink?
Right. So there was a story in Tanakh where the Jewish people were being threatened by a foreign enemy. First, Gideon assembles.
Thank God I actually had the answer available. Oh my God!
I knew you had the answer because I taught you.
One of those moments. Literally, everything hangs.
So Gideon gathered a massive army. God says, too many. He gets it down to 3,000. God says, still too many.
By the way, guys, this was the original story that the Greeks took and
Right.
turned into their 300.
Right.
This was the real one.
Exactly. The Gentiles haven't come up with one good story.
Where was
So,
Was
so
there still Spartacus in this one?
yeah.
No, what-
Spartacus.
No, what was the
So-
The best part.
So anyway, no. So God says to Gideon, I want you to winnow it down. So Gideon says, how can I winnow it down? So he tells him, says, bring them to drink at the river, whatever. So those who bend down their mouth to drink, straight from the water, they're not good. Those who pick up the water to them, cup it in their hands, they're refined. A yid is supposed to act a certain way, even when you eat, even when you drink.
Which is why I use a
It's, right, it's saying meaning.
Why?
It's saying, but I'm saying so the idea is this is a fundamental idea that even when you do what you're allowed to do, we're not talking about breaking the law. Even when you do what you're allowed to do, I'll tell you another story. Once there was a guy who went to eat by someone else's house, Shabbos, and the host was more of a brute, a rough individual. The guest was more of a refined
One
individual.
was spicy, one was sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So the host would like rip off a piece of challah, right? And he would take it.
Wouldn't you just start with the Ashkenazi?
No. You mean like
just start there.
no.
We know the ribbons of bread, right?
The other
One-
guy,
one Moroccan guy,
The other guy
and
knew-
really nice Polish man.
the other guy, when he wanted a piece of challah, he would slice it up, and he wanted another piece, he would slice a piece. So the host says, I don't understand. If you anybody's eating a half a challah, just rip off a half a challah. So what do you care? How I eat my challah? I like it. So because every time you slice, you're slicing me in the heart. I can't take it. You're eating more food, right? So there's a certain way you go about things. Alter Rebbe is asking us, to measure ourselves even before we do the things you're allowed to. Kihi kaleimar. Let's finish up the chapter. Kaleimar is this to say. Av shebemes, we're holding a 364 in the old print. Av shebemes, even though in truth, any kadol modish b'tzarachar, although the truth of the matter is, you're not separate. You're not a tzaddik. You're not a tzaddik when talking to most people. You're not a tzaddik, and you're not kaddish really means separate, right? Well, the malachim say Hashem's kaddish. He's separate. He's totally aloof. You're not separate from the sitrachar. And yes, you're battling, but why? That evil inside of you, that impulsive side inside of you, is as strong when you were born in the left heart, in the left side of your heart. But it's called in the left side. Alter Rebbe explained the nefesh Bahamas is in the left side of the heart. The nefesh Elokis is in the brain and the right side. So he said your natural impulses are the same. It's a small victory. But at this point, this is what a Beinoni is, by the way. A Beinoni is small victories. You don't change yourself. You're making small victories. I'm not going to do this or say this or think this just because I decided. Everything has to have a reason. And that's what it means. You will be holy. What does that mean? You will be. Hashem, it's almost like Hashem is promising you. If you sanctify yourself, Hashem is promising you in the end, you will be holy. Vasmate, Kalaima, this means Saifai.
Can you want tone down the Yiddish? I'm keeping up with you.
I have
every once in a while. I'm like, what is?
You
that?
don't realize I'm making fun of Sfarad and ripping off the challah and the Yiddish yet?
You really are excluding half of the crowd over here. There's about 30 of us.
The Kalaima, this means. Klaimar, this means Saifa, in the end, Lias Kodesh and move the Bamasitracha. In the end, you are going to be, it means people are creatures of habit. If a person creates a habit, then not every time he's going to give in, the Yitzhar is going to stop trying, or he won't try with big things, he'll try with small things. Why? Because we said before, every time you do a little assist on the below, Hashem gives you a greater assist above. And then you'll push it out more and more and more. Will you ever get it out? No. Ma'at, slowly. Because we learned in previous chapters to totally get your nefesh Bahamas and Yetzer Hara out. That's a gift from above. You could vanquish it, push it into the corner, and you keep having to stuff the room, so to speak, your heart with good. Because chas v'shalom, we learned if a person thinks, all right, I'm above it all, then he's in big trouble. But this is the lesson. It's not about the whole day. So right now, what is it? It's 9:05. But however much time you have until you go to sleep, you're going to have a series of choices now. What are you going to do? It says now we can say, okay, let's say you want to watch the news, you want to watch whatever it is, whatever show. So you know something? Instead of starting now, I'm going to wait 5 minutes. In these 5 minutes, I'm going to learn Torah. And then tomorrow you'll see that think of it, by the way, like exercising. You know what the hardest time to go exercise is? The first time. The first time going to exercise is usually the hardest because you're sore and you don't want, but you push yourself. Then the second time you go, it might be easier. But then after you keep going to exercise, all of a sudden it becomes part of your ritual. What do you mean? I do it. So that's what I have to do. Small victories. This is the method of serving Hashem. Small victories. We keep doing it, become a lot better. We'll adjourn and we'll pick it up next week. Have a good week.
Next week, chapter